So I don't know if you guys heard about this, but AMD stock actually reached its highest price in over a decade. Pretty interesting.
Yes.
What's up, everybody? My name is Ale. Welcome to my world of finance. If you're new to the channel, you may not know this, but AMD has been my second largest stock for an extremely long time. Now, in very recent history, I've been purchasing a lot more Disney stock, and so AMD fell to my number 3 spot. But it's still a very large position in my portfolio. And so you can imagine my excitement when AMD came out and announced amazing quarter 2 earnings and the stock skyrocketed. In fact, the stock jumped up almost 15% on Thursday, and that was actually the highest spike in stock price in a single day for AMD since early 2017. Now on Friday, today, the time of this recording, the stock jumped up almost another 3%, bringing the stock price up to almost $19 a share. That is very high. And in their conference call with investors, AMD CEO Lisa Su mentioned that they saw strong revenue growth, margin expansion, and that this was the highest reported net income for the quarter in the last 7 years. That's freaking awesome. And speaking of net income, it came in at $116 million with an EPS of 11 cents per share. Now in the year ago quarter, they actually saw a loss of negative 42 million and negative 4 cents per share. So last year, negative 42 million, this year, positive 116 million. Yeah, that's a pretty big deal. However, that did barely fall short of analyst expectations. FactSet had an average analyst estimate of 12 cents a share. AMD came out with 11 cents, so missed it by 1 cent there. But when looking at revenue, they were able to beat estimates. They posted $1.76 billion, while the average analyst estimate was at $1.72 billion. But when looking at guidance, it was actually a bit weaker than I was expecting it to be. AMD said that for the third quarter, they are expecting revenue to be in a range between 1.65 billion and 1.75 billion. Analysts were actually expecting 1.76 billion, so it is a bit lower there. And if you're wondering what the reason is for that weaker guidance in the third quarter, AMD did say that sales will be driven by growth in Ryzen and EPYC products, but it will be partially offset by lower sales of GPUs in the blockchain market. And so exactly how all of this will play out, we'll just have to keep an eye on. But speaking of AMD's actual products, sales of computing and graphics chips were able to beat analyst estimates of $1.06 billion, coming in higher than that at $1.09 billion, and that represents a year-over-year increase of about 64%. So that was very impressive, and it was mostly thanks to AMD's Radeon and Ryzen chips and their very strong sales. And when looking at AMD's EPYC and their whole server segment, they were again able to beat analyst estimates of 661 million, coming in higher than that at 670 million. And Lisa Su also added that demand for their upcoming 7nm GPU named Vega is actually very strong. And by the way, their 7nm Vega probably going to be built by Taiwan Semiconductor, and that's actually my 4th largest stock, so that could actually benefit me a lot as well. By the way, I did make a video on Taiwan Semiconductor. I'll have it linked up here. Hopefully I didn't mess that up and post edit. And I'll also have it linked in the description below if you want to check out that video as well. So in conclusion, I think that AMD is actually doing a really good job right now. We're seeing strong sales and a lot more consistency from AMD. And so when looking at sales, we're seeing really good sales from their 2nd generation Ryzen chips. EPYC is doing very well. It is still a small business, but it is growing, and we know that AMD and Lisa Su do have big plans to reinvest into EPYC and their whole server segment and continue to grow that out for the next couple years. And then we also have a lot of things to look forward to when looking at their 7nm Vega and Navi chips coming in the near future. And we know that they should also benefit a lot from the upcoming next generation of home gaming consoles as well. Now, I do just want to give one quick word of caution. We've seen it many times before with AMD stock. It'll jump up a huge amount and then it'll drop a huge amount, and then it'll come back up and it'll come back down. And so the stock has been a little volatile, especially in recent history. Now, I've been criticized a little bit for my strategy with the way that I invest in AMD. I like to think of AMD as a long-term investment, but that doesn't mean that along the way I don't cash in some of my profits and that, and that I buy when it's low as well. And the reason why some people are very critical of that strategy is because when AMD jumps up a huge amount, it tends to attract a lot of bulls. Like, people will be very bullish on it, and it's just kind of the mindset that people have in the stock market. When a stock is going up, people get really excited about that stock, and they think, man, I gotta jump in that stock. It's climbing a huge amount. So they'll jump in when it's actually going up or when it's actually already up a lot. But when the stock is going down, everybody has kind of a bearish mentality of it. They're like, man, that stock is a horrible stock. It just keeps crashing. I remember when AMD stock was crashing and I was saying that I'm picking up a bunch of AMD stock. Everybody was, not everybody, but a lot of people were calling me an idiot, and a lot of people were saying very bearish things on AMD. They were like, that stock is horrible. That stock, I'll see you when that stock hits like $5 or when it hits $3. Like they were very, very bearish on it. And so anyway, so that's why sometimes, I get called out and I get called like an idiot or something, because when the stock is going up a lot of times I'll cash in some of my profits. And then when the stock goes down a lot, I'll actually be buying heavy into AMD. Either way, I see it as a long-term investment. I'm not telling you guys what to do, but I do see it being, I do see it going up in the long term. But in short term plays, I do like to cash in some of my profits, add a little bit of security to my position. And then when it drops a lot of times I'll start going heavy into AMD. And sometimes it'll drop a lot, I'll buy a lot, and then it'll drop even more, and I'll just keep buying. And all along the way, people are, saying that I'm an idiot for doing that, because they think that it's just going to keep crashing. But long term, I do expect AMD to always kind of come back up. And so that's why I kind of do that. It's technically kind of a swing trade strategy that I do with AMD. So some people even say that I'm not long on AMD. They say that I'm just a swing trader, that I'm not actually a long investor on AMD. But I do consider myself a long-term investor in AMD, because I do still expect it to go up in the long term. I just want to add some security to what is otherwise generally known as a pretty volatile stock. And having said that, I think that the future for AMD's EPYC chips, their 7nm Vega and Navi, and then everything that's going on with Ryzen, I think the future for AMD is very bright. So I'm still definitely long-term very bullish on AMD. It is still in my top 3 stocks, but now that it's up a huge amount, I probably will be cashing in some of those profits. And lately I've been buying a lot of Taiwan Semiconductor, so that may actually take its spot, but it hasn't done so yet. And I will be talking more about AMD in my upcoming 3 stocks that I'm investing in video for August. And in those videos, I always talk about my 3 largest positions. And so AMD will still be in that video, and I'll talk a lot more about AMD. So make sure that you're subscribed for that upcoming content. But anyway, I would love to hear what you guys have to say about AMD. I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on AMD. It's always a fun stock to talk about, because you get a lot of bears and you get a lot of bulls, and it's just a lot of fun to talk about everything. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please support the channel. Hit the like button. It really helps me out a lot. And with that, I hope that you all have a wonderful, beautiful day, and that you take care. Bye.